I've been particularly pleased as I have gone around the country and have had occasion, as I often seek to do, when I come to your areas, to meet many of you in your own settings before I even go about doing any form of government work. I've taken it upon myself to pay my respects to you as our traditional leaders, so that in a way you should be able to pave the way for us to do government work, yes, in cooperation with you. But I've been highly impressed with the disposition that I have found amongst you. The disposition of seeking to focus on development issues, no longer just on issues which have to do with non-development matters, where you have demonstrated very clearly that in order for community development to be entrenched and to proceed, you have taken a keen interest as our traditional leaders to be part of the process of development, to be intricately involved, and to be interested in matters of development. And in this regard, we welcome the partnership between the Department of Traditional Affairs and the National School of Government to provide training, amongst others, facilitating socio-economic development for traditional communities. The National School of Government is offering a number of outstanding courses, and we are pleased that they are doing this not only in our own country, but also today in another country in Southern Africa, where, as Professor Ngaweni told me, they are outlining a full course for ministers and officials of another country in the attendance of the president of that country. So there is a great deal that our National School of Government is doing. In the new administration, the 7th administration, I will be making it compulsory for those that I will lead in the executive that is coming to attend the course at the National School of Government. I hope you get the underlying message. The program that the National School of Government has initiated is aimed at empowering, yes, our government representatives, including our traditional leaders, to act as change agents in their communities and to transfer new knowledge and skills so we can initiate sustainable economic interventions in our rural areas. It is for this reason that I applaud you as our traditional leaders for having a keen interest in matters that have to deal with development. This, yes, has been in development. It has been rising. It has been growing. And I want to stress that we would like it to grow more. Our goal in the end is an active rural citizenry with our traditional leaders at the helm. Gone should be the days when whatever is done for our people is done without their knowledge, without their participation. And I say, everything must be done with your active participation, with your active knowledge. That is how we build communities. That is how our democracy matures. because it becomes a participatory democracy. And I know it is hard, it is difficult. We have a robust democracy. That's what we wanted. It is noisy, it is sometimes rambunctious, and sometimes it is so active, but it is the system that we chose. So it must be engendered, it must be nurtured, and it must be encouraged. The people of South Africa would want nothing less. The issue of transferring communal land to traditional councils is one of great interest to this House. Even as I speak on this issue, I can see it in your eyes, that this is the one issue that you want me to speak about. Yes, I know that. As government, we are in the process of finalizing the bill on communal land, which will be followed by extensive consultations, as you must expect, because this is the way we have chosen to function. I know that this process is taking longer than expected, but our democracy, the democracy that you also wanted, requires that we give society a voice in matters that concern them. The challenges face active knowledge. That is how we build communities. That is how our democracy matures, because it becomes a participatory democracy. And I know it is hard, it is difficult. We have a robust democracy. That's what we wanted. It is noisy, it is sometimes rambunctious, and sometimes it is so active, but it is the system that we chose. So it must be engendered, it must be nurtured, and it must be encouraged. The people of South Africa would want nothing less. The issue of transferring communal land to traditional councils is one of great interest to this House. Even as I speak on this issue, I can see it in your eyes, that this is the one issue that you want me to speak about. Yes, I know that. As government, we are in the process of finalizing the bill on communal land, which will be followed by extensive consultations, as you must expect, because this is the way we have chosen to function. I know that this process is taking longer than expected, but our democracy, the democracy that you also wanted, requires that we give society a voice in matters that concern them. The challenges facing initiation should be decisively addressed. And this I address with a deep measure of sadness. We cannot continue to have customary initiation being turned into a harmful practice. We need to do all in our powers as government, as communities, as traditional leaders, the National Initiation Oversight Committee, and provincial structures to put an end to these unnecessary and entirely avoidable deaths and injuries of our young boys. I urge this House to continue to monitor and guide provinces and various local houses on the provisions of the Customary Initiation Act, we must live up to the slogan, Mabaye bephila, babuye bephila. That is what we need to focus on. It is always saddening, and I've said this in a few openings of this house, when we hear stories of how young boys go into initiation and come out as corpses. This is a practice that you as traditional leaders need to take hold of and make sure that our young boys go to initiation as they must, alive, and they come out alive. Because there is no greater harm that we do to our nation than to have had families bringing up young men, and as they are about to reach the peak of their lives, they then die, and die through something that we can avoid. We can avoid deaths at initiation. My heart was torn apart when last year we heard that I think up to 34 young men had died in the Eastern Cape. This, I'd like to challenge this house, all of you as traditional leaders, to put your heads together to come up with a clear plan of how, as the season of initiation starts, we can make sure that our antennas are on a high alert. And it's not like, the whole population of young men in any of our provinces is going for initiation. It is a number that is manageable. We can follow up every young man's household and make sure that they come out alive. Granted, some of the households are women-headed families, and that is where the mobilization of our traditional leaders can make sure that we do take care. I have some of my colleagues in cabinet who have sons who tell me that as their sons go for initiation, they make sure that they are there all the time, making sure that it all works well. They are there day and night, ensuring that the process is properly managed. And I do believe that if there is proper mobilization in our communities, where our traditional leaders work together with households, exactly the same thing can happen. Where as young men go for initiation, the men in the community make sure, even if there are women-headed families, they make sure that these young men are well looked after and they come back alive. This I ask of you as our traditional